All right, welcome back. Or I should be saying, actually, I'm welcoming myself back. And the reality is, I've been MIA, right? Not MIA. Those of you from Miami know what I'm talking about. But I've been absent for a while. I've been continuing to publish blogs, but I got to be honest with you. I've had to grade approximately 300 law school essays over the last few weeks. So I kind of disappeared on you, and I'm sorry about that. But the blogs were continued, so if you don't mind reading it. So I do got to catch up now with the videos, and I'm going to start working on the videos almost daily to kind of catch up with the blogs. So if you see a little bit, I'm focusing today on a blog that I wrote earlier, but regardless, I still want to get these videos out and convert them to podcasts because I know it's easier for some of you versus sitting there maybe having to read it while you want to listen to a podcast. Preferably, you're on the go, you're walking your dog, jogging, whatever you want to do. But like they used to say in the old days, where's Waldo? Well, you're trying to find Waldo somewhere. I don't even know they still have that these days, but here I am. All right. So today I'm going to focus on this was actually a question received from a reader. It's a very good question, and it's really an issue where you could say I'm ready to file for bankruptcy, but the answer is not yet. It really depends on a lot of different things. Now, before we get there, I want to talk about how we actually got here. And this starts back with the 2005 law, the Bankruptcy Abuse Prevention and Consumer Protection Act. It's a mouthful, right? I always love this. Abuse. What abuse? What are we talking about? And by the way, you're protecting the consumers from what? I don't understand. What I will tell you is this is nothing but political talk. The reality is every system could be abused, right? We saw that with COVID, people getting COVID loans and buying a Lamborghini. I think that was actually a guy in Miami. But the reality is the overwhelming majority of bankruptcies are not tied into abuse at all. It's really an exaggeration. It's political talking points. It's something that politicians do because at the end of the day, they have better, the creditors have better lobbyists than you do. And I hate to be cynical, but that is the reality. We talk about the abuse of the bankruptcy court system. What abuse? These are the three reasons people end up filing for bankruptcy. There are many reasons, of course, but the top three reasons: health related issues, right? People that have missed work 2 or 3 weeks because they're sick, they're in the hospital. When they get out of the hospital, insurance is going to cover that for the most part, unless there's government jobs or something like that. There's always that 20% that you have to pay. Well, 20% of $100,000 is $20,000 we don't have. So that's the top reasons people file for bankruptcy. And of course, there's divorce. But today we're going to focus on the medical bills portion and why that's important because this specifically ties into an actual divorce case and medical bills. So that's what the reader's question is. The reader's trying to figure out what should we go with? Should we go with negotiating, consolidating this debt? Should we consider filing for bankruptcy, etc.? So we're going to go through all that today in this video, and we're going to try to figure out how this applies to your particular set of facts. If always you have a question, you can always feel free to send me an email at alex@bankruptcy.blog. Okay, so here we go. What is an unsecured debt? Well, we always say credit cards, right? Credit cards is an easy example. Medical bills as well. Personal loans, right? And creditors love to lie, right? They're not, they want their money, so don't believe everything they tell you. Believe what I'm telling you. A judgment can be wiped out in bankruptcy. Creditors like to say, "Oh, we're ready for close. We got a judgment. You can't file for bankruptcy." Says who? Says what law? 2005 law, the BACPA is clear on that, and bankruptcy law all the way before that was also clear. So if there's a car repo, there's a foreclosure, it doesn't mean that bankruptcy cannot be filed. It could absolutely be filed. So don't guide yourself by creditors. They don't even assuming they know what they're talking about. They're not the most credible people you're going to find around. So now let's look at this particular reader and the questions that the reader had. The reader, as you can see here, had outstanding medical bills, had attorney's fees from divorce, the top two reasons, right, or part of the top three. Again, what abuse? Congress never was really able to prove any evidence. What there's some people, there's always some people. It's not the overwhelming. The question is, should the reader file for bankruptcy or should they should consolidate the debt? Sounds like a simple answer, but it's not because always part of bankruptcy is being able to strategize and be able to make the right decisions at the right time. So let's go over first with attorney's fees. When they changed the law in 2005, guess what? Lawyers and family court, pressure to change the law in their favor. You cannot eliminate all types of bankruptcy. That includes what we call DSOs, domestic support obligation. What is a domestic support obligation? Simple enough, right? We're going to look at child support, and we're going to look at alimony or spousal support. If there is a judgment related to child support, you're not going to turn around and file for bankruptcy tomorrow. Bankruptcy is not going to make that debt disappear. But the change in 2005 also said that attorney's fees related to that issue cannot also be discharged in bankruptcy. Now, think about that for a second. If I take you back to court on a child support because you're not paying child support, and I ask the court to award me fees, and they do, which is common, and I say, okay, we award Alex $1,000 in fees. You turn around and file for bankruptcy, I still get paid. Those fees are not going to be eliminated in bankruptcy. Could other parts of the divorce case can? Sure, the car repossession and stuff like that. But now it's not even my attorney's fees related to DSOs. So keep that in mind. It's not always going to be discharged. Now, other fees, yes, I already made that clear. That's not going to be an issue. We can go ahead and discharge other fees, the foreclosure that both of you were responsible for, and the mortgage and everything else, okay? So here you have an individual who not only has to deal with attorney's fees from the divorce case, but also medical bills. So how are we going to handle this? Simple enough. When we're talking about medical bills, you got to sound like a lawyer, right? You just can't accept something, I have medical bills, I want to file for bankruptcy. Okay, how much in medical bills? Is it 1,000 or is it 100,000? Because that's going to determine, right? What steps are we going to take? Can you afford this? Yes or no? If the answer is you can't afford it, then of course you're going to be leaning towards bankruptcy. So that's cool. We already got that figured out. But here's a catch. Are you done? Did you go in for a broken finger and that got fixed and there's really no more treatments, no more therapy or anything else? Then the answer is you can then file for bankruptcy then. But what if you have ongoing treatments? Well, what other debts are not discharged in bankruptcy? That includes debts not listed in the petition and debts that you don't have. You can't file for bankruptcy and say, by the way, in 6 months, I'm going to have other debt. We'll just include that right now. That debt has to exist. It could be there's a lawsuit pending. That's fine. That there's already debt associated with that, even if you win or lose the lawsuit, let's say. But you can't say, I'm going to go to a hospital in 1 year. Let me go ahead and include them in bankruptcy today. You actually have to go to the hospital first, and then we can include them in bankruptcy, right? So if you have ongoing treatments, now's not the time to file for bankruptcy. But I'm about to get sued. Well, let's look at this from a practical standpoint. Are you going to get sued tomorrow by a hospital because you haven't paid a bill and you left the hospital a month ago? No, that's not going to happen. It's going to take a while. They're going to pursue debt collections for a while and eventually gets transferred to a lawyer. If you told me a lawsuit didn't happen in 2 or 3 years, I wouldn't be surprised. That probably is kind of the standard, right? But if it does happen to come forward and there is that lawsuit, then the answer is very simple. Delay, delay, delay. Delay this case as much as possible. That means filing a response. That means trying to work out a negotiation with these creditors, right? There's nothing wrong with trying to reach an agreement. You might reach agreement and close this case out. And if you do, we're fine. We can skip bankruptcy as long as you can afford the bills. But if you can't afford the bills or bankruptcy is not the answer today, which is common, especially during tax season, I've written a blog on that, excuse me, where I say, during tax season, if you're getting a refund, this is not the best time to file for bankruptcy. Even though you're thinking, I have money to hire the lawyer and I can go ahead and file, just depends how much money we have left over from the tax refund, okay? So keep that in mind. Sometimes we just have to sit back and wait, let nature take its course, and then we'll go ahead and we'll file for bankruptcy, okay? So that's really what it comes down to. Just because you can include medical bills doesn't mean you're going to do it today. We might have to wait and see, if there's more treatments coming, then let's get those treatments out of the way. Then we can worry about bankruptcy. And if there's a lawsuit, then you know the answer, right? The answer is we're going to delay this case as much as we can so that we can go forward with it. Now, I do want to tell you about this, and I did write another blog on this. You can look it up. Hospital billing. Yeah, always a problem, especially for some of us who have done, us lawyers who have done personal injury cases in the past. Um, there's double billing, right? I've always told clients are like, I don't know who this person is. Why am I getting a bill for them? And I'm not exaggerating when I say, you know, that doctor that passed by at 5 o'clock in the morning, knocked on the door, peeked his head in, and asked, "How are you doing today?" And you're groggy, you're under medication, and they're waking you up at 5 in the morning. And you go, "I'm fine, half asleep." That doctor just got paid for that. During the checkup, whatever you want to call it. That's that $12 medical bill that you're not understanding. That's where that comes from. So, but I'm going to take it a step further with this because this is a real big problem. You can see here the date that I looked it up. So just look it up. Um, I believe I did it in the news section. Here's the problem. You go to the hospital, right? And you don't have insurance, or your insurance only covers so much, right? And the doctor, there's always that person that comes into the hospital room and says, I'm with billing, and in a very nice way, they're telling you need to pay, before we show you the way out the door. Well, that person might ask you, I need identification. You say, okay, here's my driver's license. And they say, okay, something else too. Do you have another type of ID, a passport? No, who takes a passport to a hospital? A credit card, debit card, anything like that? Oh, yeah, yeah, sure. Well, they get your credit card and then they swipe it. Now, we don't know how much is there, right? We could put $2,000 and it gets rejected. Could be $5,000 and it gets accepted, right? Now, all of a sudden, they maxed out your credit cards. Did they have your permission to do this? I don't know. Did you read the disclaimer, the 10-page disclaimer, as you're feeling horrible and you're feeling like your world's going to end, you're going to die any minute now? Did you read that disclaimer? I'm pretty sure you didn't. You wouldn't even have read it if none of that applied to you, right? So there could have been a disclaimer that says you agree to pay services when rendered, and then all of a sudden your credit card is maxed. Or worse, what if it's a debit card? And all of a sudden they've pulled out all the money that you had ready for your credit card. Now what you're going to do? What if the mortgage or your rent payment was due that Friday? What now? You think the bank cares that this is what happened at the hospital? They're going to say the hospital is allowed to charge for their services, and that's what they did. It's not our problem. You're going to get evicted or you're going to get foreclosed on, especially if they wiped you out. So, one trick, you can have most of your money in your savings account, right? So the debit card is only tied into your checking account. Leave minimal money there. So they take $20, they take $20. Good for them. But at least they didn't get the 2,000 or 5,000 or 10,000 that you have in your savings account. Or just don't give it to them. I don't have a debit card. I don't have a credit card. I didn't bring it with me. My wife was not too long ago in the hospital, which clicked my memory and said, I need to write a blog post on this. The first thing I told her was, remember, don't. She interrupted me. She goes, I know. I'm leaving all that information in my car, because she just went to the urgent care for something real quick, and she left it in her car and just had her ID. That's all they need. Realistically, a credit card is not a form of identification. Your driver's license is. So be very careful with that. You don't want all of a sudden get wiped out financially. Maybe you had excellent credit and you have a credit card that has a high available credit limit, and all of a sudden the hospital is driving you into bankruptcy, which again is one of the top 3 reasons people file for bankruptcy. Okay, so understand what we're going into this. We need to understand, are we going to consolidate? Are we going to delay the case because there's more treatments? Or are we just ready to go straight into bankruptcy? The answer is it always depends. It depends on a particular set of circumstances, all right? But there you go. You'll see it on the screen. That was one of the questions from the reader. So thank you for reaching out to me and letting me know about this question or this issue that you had. I also want to say, for those of you that are using my textbook and your paralegal courses or your legal studies courses, you can always go back, obviously, check out the blogs, which has a lot of information. I am going to be doing blogs specific to the textbook, and I'm going to do blogs or videos specifically tied into that, as well as going through the bankruptcy process. That will help you paralegals. That will help you legal studies students. It will give you a better understanding of all the different steps we have to go through in bankruptcy, right? But you can always use the material, of course, that's in the blog would help you better understand. When you hear about, oh, there's exemptions, what does that mean? Just start looking for the exemptions in all the different blogs I've written on that issue to give you a better understanding of everything, okay? Now, close everything out. Come and follow me on social media. I want some followers. I need, now that I'm getting back into this game, I want you people tweeting at me tweeting at them, and we'll go over everything. You can find me on Facebook as well. Just type up Bankruptcy Blog. You should be able to find me. And of course, if you have any questions that you want posted in the Reader's Question Forum, there you go. You know how to reach me. All right. All right. So I'm going to be doing more videos. I'm looking forward to producing another one probably tomorrow. So I promise I'm coming back out of hiding. I've been hiding, but I'm back. I'm going to have a normal schedule from here moving forward. I did not have a normal schedule this semester, but I do now. So I'll see you guys later. Any questions, you know how to reach me. Take care, everybody, and have a good rest of your week. All right. Take care.